Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here today to recap American Crime Season 3, Episode 6. Okay guys, please forgive me, but I have been battling. I rarely ever get sick, but the past couple of days, I feel like I have a cold. My throat is very dry and scratchy, and I want to sneeze like all over the place. So if you feel my voice going away or trembling or shaking, it's because the air is getting in my throat and it's drying it out and making it hard for me to talk. So okay, let's get started. So the show opens with a scene between Gabrielle and Claire, and she walks in to let Gabrielle know that she and Nicolas are on their way out. So Gabrielle is writing a letter, and it looks like it may be to her son Yves, and she offers to show the letters to Claire when Claire asks what she's writing about. And so Claire says that she doesn't want to read the letters because they're personal, and also she doesn't see the point as to why Gabrielle writes the letters if she's not going to mail them off. And then Gabrielle lets her know that she's writing the letters to God, which maybe Claire doesn't believe in God because she quickly left the room at that point. So Claire and Nicolas, they meet their friends Helen and Scott at a bar, and they're playing pool, and it's the men versus the women. So the two use this opportunity, to take jabs at each other. And when Claire starts showing pictures of Nikki, it really upsets Nicolas. So he really goes in on her, and he starts making snide comments about Claire hiring a nanny who only speaks in French, and that the nanny does everything that Claire should be doing as a mother and a wife. And so he also comments on, what a good businesswoman Claire used to be, but she gave it all up to sit around the house and do nothing. So Claire tires of the insults and begins speaking in French to Helen. And after she walks away, Nicolas asks Helen, what Claire said, but Helen was so stunned. And when I tell you guys, I was trying to get the translations down, but even in the recap, they wouldn't show what the translation meant for what Claire said. But whatever it was, Helen was speechless. So it's the following morning, and Nicolas comes downstairs, and Claire is at the table eating breakfast. So when he goes into the kitchen, he realizes that Claire only made enough breakfast, coffee, orange juice, whatever else for herself. So he tries to talk to her, but she ignores him. After Nicolas leaves, Claire gets the idea to do something, and we see her run through the kitchen into a room behind, the laundry room or something. Then we have a scene where Gabrielle is outside with Nikki, pushing him on the swing when Claire summons her to come inside. Claire has decided to move Gabrielle out of her current bedroom, which is a really nice sized bedroom, and it may even have a private bathroom. And she wants to move her into a smaller storage room that is filled with rows of fabric samples. Like if you've ever been to Joann Fabrics, and they have that upholstery fabric, and it's on those really large rolls. And so she has some of those in the room, and they're stacked 10 high. And then there's a sewing machine and a cutting table and some other items. And she tells Gabrielle that she can move enough of the stuff out of the way to fit a bed in there. And then Gabrielle, she's upset and trying to figure out what did she do wrong, because she feels like she's being punished for something. At his office, Nicolas is in with the business manager, and he is telling him about an offer that a manufacturer by the name of Eccles has made. And the company wants a 51% share of the Coats manufacturing company. And they say that they'll pay 70% of all manufacturing costs. And when Nicolas agrees to the deal, the business manager tells him it's a horrible deal and he should think about it some more. And so then, of course, Nicolas is upset that he even brought the deal to him if he didn't think that it was a good opportunity. But the guy is basically telling him that although the other company is offering to pay 70% of the manufacturing costs, they would get to choose how much the manufacturing cost was, so they could really rob Nicolas blind if he takes this deal. So Nicolas becomes angry and agitated and says that he can't deal with any of this right now. So then he goes to Helen's place of business, and he tries to explain the stress that both him and Claire are under. And he says Claire is exhibiting really strange behavior, and he doesn't understand what she's doing, and that she often goes around the house speaking in French, so that he doesn't understand what she's talking about. And so he asks Helen, what did Claire say the night before when they were at the pool hall? But Helen says that she can't repeat it and that he needs to talk to Claire. And she also said that she thinks that Claire was just trying to be funny, that it was nothing for him to be upset about. But he is obviously very upset. So at the house, Gabrielle goes into the bathroom and runs water over her hand. And we notice that there's like 2 long bloody scratches like going up the back of her hand. So Helen stops by to let Claire know that Nicolas came to her job. And when Gabrielle walks in, Helen starts talking to her in French. But then Claire says that she's trying to teach Gabrielle English, so only talk to her in English. So Helen's looking really confused, and then when she starts talking to Gabrielle in English and she notices the scratch on Gabrielle's hand, Claire quickly, tells Gabrielle that she needs to go and check on Nikki. So once she's out of the room, Claire tells Helen that Gabrielle hurts herself and that she was in an abusive marriage back in Haiti. And had she known that Gabrielle had all these issues, she never would have brought her over to the country after the hurricane. Helen seems concerned as she recalls what Nicolas said about Claire acting strange lately. And Claire insists that everything is okay. So Helen brings up what Claire said about Nicolas at the bar, and she dismisses it as her and Nicolas just being asses towards one another, and that Helen shouldn't be concerned that they're doing okay. So after Helen leaves, Claire goes to Gabrielle's room to wrap her hand and tell her that she needs to stop causing these things to happen to herself. And Gabrielle says that, she just wants to be happy and she wants them to be happy with her. And Claire admonishes her for speaking in English and tells Gabrielle that they are really trying to accept her and make her a part of the family, but she's making it too hard. So Nicolas returns home to find Claire sitting where he left her, and she confesses that she told Helen that he wasn't able to get her pregnant, and that's why she had to use a sperm donor to conceive Nikki. So when Nicolas denies the accusation, she says it is true and that the reason he hates Nikki is because he was fathered by another man's sperm. So I'm like, Claire hitting below the belt. So I'm thinking she's taking her frustration out for Nicolas onto Gabrielle, and that's why she keeps hurting Gabrielle. After Nicolas storms out, Claire puts a tea kettle on the stove, and the camera goes to Gabrielle, and she is in her room but can hear the kettle whistling when the water starts to boil. So later that night, Gabrielle goes into the kitchen and she gets some ice, and we see that there's a burn on the inside of her arm. And so she decides to go into one of the drawers in the kitchen where some postage stamps are. And she takes about 4 of the stamps. And then when we see her again, she's walking down the street in the middle of the night. And she goes to a mailbox where she drops 2 letters inside. So the scene moves over to Kamara, and she is visited by someone named Greg Stevens, who works for a foundation that wants to give money to Abby's shelter. So Abby has written in the proposal for the grant that Kamara has sent 105 clients to her shelter. Kamara stalls by telling Greg that she has to pull her records together and that she doesn't use the computer. She uses handwritten notes. So Greg gives her the proposal and tells her that, when she pulls the numbers together to let him know. So Kamara calls Abby and the two agree to meet, and Kamara is upset that Abby is asking her to be unethical and lie about the numbers. So Abby argues that had she had the money that Greg's foundation is trying to give her, that she could expand the shelter and that she would have served the 105 people and even more. She also adds that without the numbers, she can't get the extra money, and she is not trying to take money for herself. So it's not like she's trying to raise these numbers to get money so she can pay herself a higher salary or anything like that. She's genuinely trying to get this money so that she can help more people. So Kamara says she is concerned she would lose her job if anyone found out, and Abby counters that if she gets the money, she can hire Kamara, add more money, than she's making at her current job, and that she also will have more responsibilities and more leeway to be able to go out into community and help the people that they're trying to bring into the shelter. We move over to Jeanette, and she wakes up from probably a restless night of sleep because she's sleeping on Raylan's sofa bed. And she gets up and helps the girls get ready for school and cook breakfast. Raylene comes in and lets her know that Carson called, but she told him that she hadn't seen Jeanette. And Raylene doesn't understand how Jeanette could leave Carson if he hasn't done anything like really bad to her or abused her. So Jeanette decides to go to the Career Center, but when she learns it will take 9 months to complete a course to receive a certification, she says she needs something quicker. She is so unprepared for the real world because the advisor suggests that she take a job paying minimum wage, but Jeanette balks at the idea because Raylene makes minimum wage, and I guess she thinks for some reason that she's supposed to make more money than Raylene. So the advisor gets her some information about financial aid, and then when Jeanette looks at the paperwork, she has like this puzzled look on her face, and then she asks the lady, can she keep the packet, and leaves the office. That night when Raylene comes home, Jeanette is already cooking dinner and says that she can pick the girls up from school. Raylene declines the offer, saying that she doesn't want to get used to it. So Jeanette takes it as Raylene doesn't want her there long, and so she lets her know, that she's really trying. And she tells Raylene that she went to the Career Center, but none of the jobs paid a living wage. So the two get into a discussion, and Raylene asks Jeanette if she thinks she makes a low wage because she can't do better because of her past conviction. Again, Jeanette, comes across as being really naive, and Raylene explains that there was things inside the transgender bill, that North Carolina passed that prevents employers from paying people more, and she says that she makes low wages because some people are stupid and will vote for anything, trying to be hateful towards other people. So Raylene turns the conversation back to Jeanette and asks what she is going through, and Jeanette tries to explain and asks Raylene if she's ever been overwhelmed, and Raylene tells her that she has 2 girls to provide for, so she doesn't have the option to become overwhelmed, and as a single mother, I can agree to that. So Raylene turns the conversation back to Jeanette and asks what she is going through, and Jeanette tries to explain and asks Raylene if she's ever been overwhelmed, and Raylene tells her that she has 2 girls to provide for, so she doesn't have the option to become overwhelmed, and as a single mother, I can agree to that. So we move over to Shae, and Shae gets a hit on her webcam site from someone named Rex52, and she has made an emotional connection with him and his wife, who is in a wheelchair and appears to have like a trach in her throat. So they know about Shae's pregnancy, and she shows some pictures of the ultrasound. The wife's name is Kelly, and when Shae asks about her, Rex says that she is having a bad day. So Shae decides to put on a show for Kelly where she takes off her bra and she's like moving around and feeling on her breast. And so Rex pays her 300 tokens and says maybe one day she can retire and take care of her baby. So at the end of the week, Shae goes in to collect her money and realizes that it isn't as much as she thought it was going to be after everybody gets their cut. So as she is leaving, Everett lets her know that the house needs her to keep up with some of the chores, and that there's a sign-up sheet or something that she can sign up to let them know what she's going to be doing to keep the house clean. So Shae goes to Dustin to confront him about her pay, and she says that Everett receives 60%, and then she has to pay whoever owns the house, I guess 60% of the money that she has left over, and that she's sure that Dustin receives a recruitment fee as well. So he tells her that she needs to work harder and get better clients instead of the charity cases that she's been dealing with. So Dustin also suggests that she get some of Tracy's clients because she has more than enough. And I guess Tracy is the girl who, in last episode, that told her to call herself Cassie instead of Brandy. So Shae starts to complain and say it was better with Billy, and she wonders if he is still in jail. So Dustin says that he has no clue whether or not Billy is in jail or not, and that it doesn't really matter because he wouldn't want to see Shae, considering that she had agreed to testify against him. In her room, Shae is looking at the list of people in her account who are offering tokens to perform, and so there's about 5 people in there, and 4 of them are offering like 150, 160 tokens, and then Rex is on the top of the list, and he's offering 345. So Shae decides that she doesn't want to interact with Rex, and I guess she's thinking about what Dustin said. So she decides to go into Tracy's room, and so she's trying to log into Tracy's computer, but she can't get on the computer. And then also when she was in her room looking on the computer, she had went on to Tracy's page, and she saw like all these sexy pictures that Tracy had up on her site. So then Shae starts looking around the room, and then she picks up a purse that Tracy has left on the bed, and then Tracy comes in and catches her, and so the two are arguing, and Shae decides to walk out of the room, and then we see what looks like Tracy hitting her, but then there's like a stunned look on Shae's face, and as the camera kind of pans around, we realize that Tracy has stabbed her in the back of the neck with what might have been like a metal fingernail file. So Shae stumbles out of the room and falls on the ground, and Dustin and Everett run out, and one of them pulled the file out of her neck, which appears to have cut her carotid artery. And as Everett convinces Dustin that there's nothing they can do, Shae is lying on the ground bleeding to death. And so Dustin goes into her room to pack up her things when he comes across the ultrasound. And so he had been crying the whole while Everett was talking to him, and then he just sits on the bed. And he just seems really sad and hurt that Shae has come to this end. And so the show ends with Shae's body floating in the river. And it's the same scene that we saw on the very first episode when the show opened up. So even though Shae was getting on my nerves, I really did not expect to see this happen to her. I was hoping that Kamara would find her and end up adopting the baby, but that is not to be. I mean, this season of American Crime, they are wrapping up these scenarios and doing away with these cast members quickly. And so there's only, I think, 2 episodes left. So guys, let me know what you thought about the episode. Leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I will talk with you guys later. Bye-bye.